Hello, welcome to my channel. I am Tori Lynn. Let's blossom today. Today I am doing a recreation of my wedding makeup. Getting to wedding season, and although I know a lot of weddings have been canceled or rescheduled, I was doing research on what I was going to wear for my wedding, what makeup I was going to wear for my wedding for months and months and months in advance. I was on YouTube, I went to Ulta, I went to Sephora, like I had done so much research, and so I thought, you know, if I was looking for videos, I'm sure other people are looking for videos, even if your wedding isn't for a year from now. I'm putting out this video. This is as close to a recreation of my wedding makeup as I could get. I don't have exactly all the same products I used back then, and I don't remember everything I used 3 years ago, but a lot of it I did remember, and so this, like I said, is as close to a replica of my wedding makeup as I could get. If you guys want to see what I use and what products I think are staples for wedding makeup, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and let's just jump into it. So I got married like almost 3 years ago, and I don't remember exactly what products I used. I remember a lot of the products I used, but there were a few that were a little fuzzy that I can't remember, or that I just don't own anymore. I don't have them anymore. I used them all up and never rebought them, you know, things like that. But I tried to go through and find as much of the same products as I could, and then what I didn't have made an educational, you know, decision on what I thought would work best for a wedding. So, I'm going to start with my skin. I've already moisturized it and all that good stuff. I actually used the Stella and Grace Say Hi to Hydration Hyaluronic Acid. This stuff works amazing to prep the skin. It makes your skin feel so soft and supple and smooth. I use this every day since I have gotten it. It's not particular to the wedding makeup theme. The products I'm going to be using today are not all drugstore or not all high-end. They're a mixture of all of it. If you guys want to see a makeup look where I do all high-end or all drugstore for weddings, then go ahead and comment down below and let me know, and I will work on getting a video out for you guys for that. But so let's start with primers. I used 2 primers on my wedding day. I'm sure like you, I did a lot of research, a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of reading up on makeup in general, trying to decide what the best products were gonna be for me and my skin. I am an oily babe in my T-zone. My nose especially is really oily, so I wanted to find some stuff that were gonna be mattifying, that were also gonna be pore filling. And so I actually went to Ulta, I think it was, and so I'd watched videos and got a bunch of ideas in my head, and I was going to go with one brand, and then when I went to Ulta, it was a Sephora only brand, and I'm one of those people, I don't like to buy makeup online unless it's something I have used before and I am repurchasing. If it's a new product, I want to feel it, I want to hold it, I want to touch it, I want to know what it's going to be like on my skin. So I went to the store, I went to Ulta, and at that point we didn't have an Ulta in my town. I had to drive like an hour away to get to the nearest Ulta. And between watching videos and doing research and talking to the women that worked at the store, these were the 2 that they recommended. I ended up using both of them. They're both oil-free, but this one I feel like has more of a mattifying quality, which is why I chose to use it in my oilier areas. And this one, of course, it's the Smashbox Photo Finish Foundation Primer. So I wanted to have that flawless photo finish look for your wedding. You know, these are photos you're going to be looking at for years to come, hopefully. And then this one was the Professional by the Benefit. So I'm going to start with the Professional. This one I actually had bought years ago. I think I talked about in a different video that this primer was my first like high-end purchase. I was at a Macy's. I had just started getting into YouTube video, you know, watching YouTube videos, and I was in beauty school, and so I was starting to get into makeup more, like high-end makeup. I wore a lot of Mary Kay because my grandma was a Mary Kay consultant, so like middle school all the way through high school and even into beauty school, I wore Mary Kay foundation a lot of times, and let's not get into that whole situation of what I didn't even do. When I think about it now, I'm like, why did I do that? Like, I didn't set my makeup. I wore liquid foundation, didn't set it. It was just not a good time. But anyway, so yeah, this primer was my first high-end makeup purchase. Primer was something I had never ever worn. And so, you know, you watch everyone's video and everyone starts with primer. And so that was something that I told myself, you need to have a primer. So I went and the lady at Benefit talked me into getting that primer. And I do love it. I have repurchased it so many times. Now I'm going to take the Smashbox Photo Finish Primer. And I'm going to work this on the outer edges of my skin. Both these primers are very, like, silicone-y textured. So they are, like I said, good at filling in pores and stuff. Something I like to do, I don't know if it makes a difference, is to kind of press my primers into my pores. I feel like it helps just kind of really fill everything in. I, as you can see, have a big friend living on my face or recently popped up. I don't think I had any blemishes on my wedding day, but like a day or two into our honeymoon, I got a really big one, actually very similar to this guy. It might even been on that side, I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and color correct that just because we don't want any redness popping through, although the foundations and the concealers I'm going to be using are very heavy duty. I still don't want any chance of that. So I'm using the B.W.T.L Cosmetics Pro Concealer Palette, and it just has the 3 color correcting shades, purple, green, and orange. I'm going to be using, of course, green because green and red are complementary colors. They're opposite on the color wheel, which means that they cancel each other out. I'm just going to go ahead and really pack down on that guy. And I sometimes add a layer or 2 just to make sure you really can't see any of that redness coming through. Obviously, this is not going to eliminate the pimple itself. This is just going to help tone down the redness of it, which will hopefully kind of camouflage it in a little bit. Let's go ahead and use our foundation. This was the foundation I chose to wear for my wedding. This is the Maybelline Fit Me. I used the Matte and Poreless because, like I said, I am an oily girl. I wanted to stay matte and not super oily, and it won't look like a grease ball by the end of my wedding. And this foundation has just a really pretty finish. I do like the dewy as well. If you are a dry skinned person, then go for the dewy. I chose this foundation because I had used it. I knew it wore well. I knew it looked great. It had a good finish. It was long lasting. It looks really good in photos. I wore this foundation for a while up to my wedding to really get a hang of it, and I did like it. Of course, I was wearing a darker shade at my wedding because I was tanning. I had been tanning. I actually been going to a tanning salon. I haven't been tanning at all, so I'm going to be using the shade 110. I honestly can't remember what shade I used for my wedding, but I know it was darker than this shade. I wish that they would put a pump on these bottles, like, why not? So I'm going to be using a brush. This is a Morphe M6, I believe. Yes, Morphe M6. I think that using a brush with your foundation, especially for something like a wedding, is pretty important because I don't know, I feel like your foundation looks more flawless when put on with a brush and then blended out with the Beauty Blender. I do adjust the Beauty Blender all the time, but for my wedding I did use a brush and then use the Beauty Blender to blend it out. I don't think I used one of these brushes though. When I got married, the I can't even remember what they're called now, the artisan brushes, the ones that were like the round heads and then the handle came out the side. Those were what was really popular at that point. So I used those. I don't remember where I got them. I mean, this works just as good. Morphe has really good brushes. So now that our foundation is on and applied, we're gonna go ahead and take a damp beauty sponge and just buff that out. This really melts the product into the skin. It gets rid of any brush streaks and it just makes your foundation look flawless. For concealer, I'm going to be using the Tarte Shape Tape. I know for sure I was wearing this at my wedding because this has been like my holy grail since I got it. This is in the shade Porcelain Beige. I think I used Fair Neutral at my wedding instead of Porcelain Beige because I was more tan. It's still a very light shade. I like my concealer to be pretty light and bright. And I'm going to kind of bring up the cheek just a little bit more than I normally would because we really want to have that snatched eye look. You know, we want those cheekbones and everything to just kind of pop off. And then because this is a wedding, this is a big event, if you're not usually one for, you know, contouring and highlighting and doing all these extra steps, that's okay. But I would recommend doing it for your wedding. Like I said, you want to have a classical look, but you're also going to be taking lots of photos, and so you want those darker areas to be a little bit lighter. So like for me, my darker areas are right around the edges of my nose, and then my smile lines, those tend to crease and end darker, so by concealing them, we're going to add a little brightness to them, and things will look a little bit better. I do that a lot of times, but I feel like it's pretty important to do for wedding makeup. And for this, I am just going to take my beauty sponge. If you prefer to do this with a brush, go for it. I always think that this looks a little more seamless when I do it with a sponge, and I know that when I got married, I used a sponge. See how that just really brightened up those darker areas right in the center of my face? I think that that's something that you're gonna want to make sure to do. Now, for baking my under eyes, this I know was not the product that I wore on my wedding. I honestly probably wore my Coty Translucent Airspun powder, but that was because that was the only setting powder I had tried, I had used. Well, that's not true. I had tried a few drugstore ones, but a lot of them seem to give flashback, and you don't want that on your wedding day. So we're going to be going in today with the Anastasia Beverly Hills Loose Setting Powder in the shade Translucent. This stuff does not give flashback, and it also sets really well. It also sets things very bright, and I feel like on your wedding day, you want your under eyes to look bright and happy and healthy. So that's why I chose to use this one over my Coty Translucent. I don't think that Anastasia even had this product out when I got married. Now, I could be wrong about that, but I honestly don't feel like they did. I feel like this product has come out or been released since my wedding day. Because this is a wedding day, you don't want your makeup to move. I'm going to be setting the inner creases, or the creases around my nose that we highlighted a minute ago, because that's where foundation likes to settle on me. And I'm also going to bake my smile lines because we don't want that to start creasing. And I also like to bake the crease in under my chin. And then the last thing I'm going to set or bake is these edges of my forehead, because that's where I get like wrinkles or creases in my makeup when I raise my eyebrows. That's where the skin like wrinkles, and so it causes these little creases, and we don't want that. We want flawless goddess-like skin. For my brows, I have no clue what I was using for a brow product during my wedding. At that point, I think I was still using an eyeshadow because my hair was really dark, and like I hadn't mastered the brow, which I still haven't mastered the brow, but I hated doing brows. I had a really hard time doing brows. At that point, the trend was those really angular brows. And now they're a little softer. I mean, they're definitely still angular, but they've calmed down a lot, I feel like, as far as the trend goes. So I'm pretty sure I used an eyeshadow, a dark brown eyeshadow, and a brush. My hair was really dark at my wedding. It's not so dark now, so I'm going to be using a product that I think looks really natural. I feel like a wedding look needs to be timeless, it needs to be beautiful, it needs to be like an enhanced natural situation, if that makes sense. Like a really soft glam, basically. I don't think you would want to go, now some people might. For me, I did not want to go with something that was a total trend at the moment, you know. I wanted something that would be timeless, something that would look good 30, 40, 50 years from now. So I'm just going to be using, this is the e.l.f. Instant Lift Brow Pencil, and I'm using this because this is like my favorite brow product right now. If you would have asked me several months ago, I would have used the Anastasia Beverly Hills Dip Brow Pomade. That was my favorite for several years, and I'm just going to do my brows like I do every day. I don't think my brows right now are too big or too thin or too anything crazy. I think they look good, so I'm just going to go with that. Of course, you do whatever makes you comfortable with your eyebrows. Okay, so brows are done. I'm going to be moving into the eyes now, and I use this palette. This is the Tarte Rainforest of the Sea Volume 2 palette. This is the exact palette that I used at my wedding. I know the weeks leading up to my wedding, I tried so many different looks with so many different palettes, and this was a newer palette to me at the time, and I just thought it had gorgeous nudes. It was just a simple, easy palette to use. I think the colors are just so cohesive, and they just go so well together that you could make a lot of different looks. and I wanted something that was going to be neutral and classy. I'm going to start with the matte cream shade here in the palette called Conch, and I'm going to set my lid with this. I always like to set my lids, or a lot of the times like to set my lids, because this is going to make blending things out so much easier. If you lay shadow down, especially heavy pigmented shadow, down on tacky concealer or tacky eyeshadow base, you're going to end up with a patchier look. Things aren't going to blend out as well because you're going to stick that shadow down and that pigment is going to stick in that tacky product, and it will not be what you want it to be. It will not be as beautiful as you want it to. It will not blend out as well. If you're looking for a really intense pigmented look, then not setting it's a good idea, but to me, I'm wanting something that's going to be soft and smoky and beautiful, so I want to set that first. So now I'm going to go in with the lightest brown shade in the palette called Marina. It's just a nice matte brown, medium tone, not really dark. And I'm going to work that in the crease. This is going to be our transition shade. See how beautiful and soft and smooth that shadow is. It just makes the perfect crease shade. Now we're going to go in one shade darker with the shade called Seaside. It's the nice dark medium brown in the palette. I'm going to really focus it on the outer corner to start, and then we'll kind of bring it in towards the inner corner without going all the way. I do not want to drag this shade into my inner corner, but we want to take it pretty far over. Now I want to go ahead and add a little depth into the palette, but we don't want to go too dark. So I'm going to go into the darkest brown shade called Siren. It's this really dark brown, and we're going to focus that right in that outer corner. We don't want to drag it anywhere. We just really want to focus it there to build the depth. When we go to blend it out, that's how we'll move it around more. Right now I'm just kind of focusing on stamping right in that corner. I might bring it down onto the actual lid towards the lash line a little bit. But now I'm going to take my favorite blending brush and just give everything a really good blend. We don't want to have any real harsh edges. We want everything to stay, you know, pretty soft. Next, I'm going to take the lightest shimmery shade called Pearl, and I'm going to pop that on the lid. Then I'm going to take my blending brush, the same one I used, and kind of just go sweep over the edges of where that shimmer meets the darker powders, because we want to make sure everything again has a nice seamless blend. Now if you want to go with a darker look, I would recommend using the same shade as your crease shade, and then instead of using these two shades, I would transfer to these two shades. This one is called Breezy, and I would use Breezy as that second shade that we used to start adding depth, that we brought in a little more. And then the darkest shade is called Riptide, and I would use that as just your depth color right in the outer corner. And then I would stick with Pearl as the same lid shade. And I think that either set of shades would be really pretty. It just depends on how dark you truly want to go. Let's go ahead and pop on our inner corner and brow highlight. Back in the day, a few years ago when I got married, my favorite highlight was especially for my inner corner, was the ColourPop's Flexitarian. And I actually recently got back into using this. I kind of forgot how stunning this shade was. So I'm just going to take a brush and I'm going to pop that right on the inner corner. And sometimes it takes a few coats of this, but I mean, look at how like bomb that highlight is. Once you get a good layer down or a good coat or two, it just like pops. And I also tossed a little bit of that on the brow bone as well. I'm going to take a big chunky brush and I'm going to buff out that line between the shadow and that highlight. I just want to smooth everything together. So I think I'm going to stop here and work on my skin again. So let's go ahead and sweep away that excess baking. For setting powder, this was one I couldn't quite remember what I used on my wedding day. I may have set my whole face with the Airspun powder, But I think I wore the L'Oreal Infallible Pressed Matte Powder because I was really big into this powder back then. And so I'm guessing I did this. It makes your foundation look flawless and beautiful. I prefer to use this powder with a more dense brush though. So this is a broken, the handle came off of it. Really dense brush. It would also be a really pretty foundation brush, but we ain't using it for that. So this again is the L'Oreal Infallible Pressed Matte Powder. This is in the shade Nude Beige. Now this one might be a little dark for me, but it's what we have right now, so it's what I'm going to use. Now when using this, I'm working it up onto the cheek, but I'm not going all the way in on this powder really. I might sweep over it, but I want to keep that brightness from that setting powder. So I'm really not going over too heavy. I'm kind of more just blending at the edges and then doing a light sweep with whatever leftover product there might be. This was probably one of the first setting powders that I ever purchased. Probably from somebody's YouTube video. They convinced me that I bought it, and it actually is still one of my favorites. Recently I have been using the e.l.f. Sheer Tint Finishing Powder, but even using this, I look in the mirror at this and I think that skin looks flawless. It looks so good. And I'm really making sure to set my nose down because that's a problem area for me. You know, we want to make sure that those oils are absorbed, that foundation is really set down because we don't want it moving and transferring during the wedding. For bronzer, I know I use the Hoola bronzer from Benefit because this has been like my all-time favorite bronzer for quite a few years now. So I'm like 99.9% sure this is the bronzer I would have used. I use the standard Hoola shade. I don't go for the caramel or the toasted or whatever they're called. I can't remember now. I'm just going to go ahead and apply that to my cheekbones. I don't really do contouring at my wedding because, again, I didn't want to look too crazy. I didn't want to look, not crazy, I don't think that's the right word, but I didn't want to look like I tried, you know, like I just wanted to be naturally beautiful, if that made sense. And I feel like contouring was too glam for what I wanted. I wanted to go with a really soft glam. I did use, which I just remembered, at my wedding, I pulled it out and I forgot to use it. This was the, I don't know how to say it, Alouette face paint lip and cheek tint. I did use this on my cheeks. I was going to use it, but it's one of those products that you have to lay down before you set your skin. I'm going to go ahead and chisel out my jaw just a little bit because, you know, girl got a double chin. We want to darken that up just a little bit so it's not as pronounced during the wedding or in your photos. The darker it is, the less noticeable it's going to be, as long as it blends well and it looks natural. If you go in and you make like this line and try to, you know, coat it in crazy, it's not going to look good. I'm going to go ahead and contour my nose. If you're not a nose contour, you don't have to, but I did. I think it just it looks a little more snatched and a little better in photos. Makes your, you know, your features look less matte. I feel like when you start adding all these matte products on there and stuff, your nose especially can lose dimension, and you don't want that. You know, you still want to be able to look like you have a nose in your photos. Now, if you have a nose that's a little more wider and you want it to look a little slender, bringing that contour up on the nose, up higher, closer together, is going to make it look more slender if you want your nose to look wider. Then of course bringing it down away from that tip is going to make it look bigger and wider. So just a little hint there if you're not super versed in the world of nose contouring. For blush, I honestly can't remember what I used for blush. Other than that liquid, I feel like I probably set it with a powder blush, but I cannot remember to save my life. And this was a blush I know I've had since well before my wedding that I used a lot. This is the Milani Rose Blush in the shade Coral Cove. This was like my all-time favorite blush for a really, really long time. It's just pretty and soft and just kind of a nice pop of color. So I'm going to go ahead and pop that on the cheeks. I'm not going to go in real heavy-handed with it because it is more of a corally shade. I just think that, you know, adding a little something is good. And I like this shade because it adds a little warmth to your cheeks. Makes you seem alive and happy, and that's what you want on your wedding day. You want to look beautiful and happy and excited and, you know, flushed. So for highlight, at my wedding, I used the Ofra highlight in the shade Rodeo Drive. As you can see, I've had this highlight for a long time. It is 99% pan. It really needs some help, so I'm not going to use this highlight today, but this is a stunning highlight. Another one that's very, very, very comparable to it would be the Mary Luminizer from the Balm, but I'm actually going to be using the Wet n Wild Mega Highlighter Powder, Mega Glow Highlight Powder in the shade Bloom Time. This is a newer highlight for me, but I think it's stunning. I think it has a really natural goddessy glow to it. The other ones are, you know, are really intense, but I don't feel like they have that natural highlight like this one does. This one just has like that natural sheen. It's so pretty. I know these are not super new products. They've been out for probably a year or two. I don't know. Look at that. It's stunning. Like, it's beams, but without looking like it's intentional. It just looks like a natural dew. It's gorgeous. So if this shade doesn't work for you, I'm sure they all look really good. I honestly, this is the only shade I've tried. But like I said, this is a newer product to me and I have fallen in love with it. It just looks so natural and dewy. I don't know what it is about this highlight, but like from the moment I tried it, it kind of stole my heart, and I wish I would have had this highlight at my wedding. But I don't even know if it's that old, like if it could have gotten it at my wedding. I don't think at my wedding I really put much highlight on my nose. I'm pretty sure I probably just did a swoosh like that, because again, I'm oily and they're going to start to look extra oily if I add too much highlight. But I do want to add a little bit for that photo quality. I'm also going to do the Cupid's bow and just a hair on the chin. Now our skin is done, so I'm going to go ahead and give it a spritz. Urban Decay has some of the best long-lasting makeup sprays or setting sprays. This one is the Urban Decay Vitamin Infused Spray. They also have the All-Nighter, which is amazing. I'm pretty sure the All-Nighter is what I wore for my wedding, but this is the one I happen to have on hand. But I would recommend spending the extra money to get an Urban Decay setting spray. You want your makeup to last all day. You want to last through the crying and the kissing and the photos and the family hugs and the, you know, everything. So getting a really good setting spray is super, super important. And the Urban Decay ones are amazing. They are pricey, but they are so worth their money for something special like a wedding. So I'm going to spritz myself down. And don't be afraid to get a little crazy with the spray. You want that makeup to melt into your skin. It's very, very crucial. So now we're going to do liner. I wore a wing on my wedding day. I think a wing is classic. I think a wing is gorgeous. It helps kind of draw those attention to the eyes. The wing is like one of my favorite things. I think it's gorgeous. I'm going to be using the Maybelline New York Master Precise All Day Liquid Eyeliner in the shade Black. I have been using this liner for years. It is amazing. It stays so well. It has such a nice look to it, and I love the felted tip. I'm not one of those people that can use one of those tiny little brush tips and get away with it. I have to have a felted tip. So I'm going to go ahead and toss a wing on. I'll be right back. Okay, now with my wing on, I'm going to go ahead and use the NARS Climax Mascara for my lashes. Now for lashes, I think I had a pair of Pure Cosmetic lashes for my wedding, but I can't remember now. But I'm going to be using out of what I have today. These are the Kiss lashes in the style Gala. They are super dense, beautiful, long lashes. They have like almost 3D texture to them with like multiple layers of lashes. Like, they are stunning lashes, absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to go ahead and toss those on. See what I mean? These lashes are just stunning. They're so thick and beautiful and totally glam that I think they're perfect wedding lashes. If you want something a little more natural, then that's totally fine. I just think these are really pretty, and these are actually pretty similar to what I wore at my wedding. Obviously my lash glue is still drying, so don't mind that situation. But let's go ahead and move into the lips, because that's kind of our final little piece. When I got married 3 years ago, lip sense was a huge thing. Was everywhere on social media, and I happened to be at a fair before my wedding, and somebody had a lip sense booth, and I was so worried about finding a lipstick that wasn't going to come off when I kissed my husband, like, or smear around. I don't know why I was so worried. I had a ton of other lipsticks that were amazing. This was in the shade Dark Pink. I'm not going to use this shade today. but I just want to show you what I actually wore. Like I said, it was dark pink. It's this really pretty pink, and of course you top it off with the glossy top coat. So that's what I did. But today we're going to be using the Anastasia Beverly Hills liquid lipstick in the shade Dusty Rose. This is a absolutely gorgeous lip color. I think it'll be pretty and timeless for a wedding. And I'm going to top it off with the ColourPop Ultra Glossy Lip in the shade Atta Girl, just to kind of keep it similar to what I had at my wedding. I actually owned this lipstick before my wedding, so why I didn't use this shade, I don't know. I think I was just like, I need to have all the new makeup and I need to have everything that's going to last and look amazing, even though this lasts and looks amazing. So let's go. Alright, and there you have it, this look. Obviously I've got a wonky lash going on in the corner there, but other than that, this look is really pretty. Everything I've chose today is going to be long lasting, beautiful makeup. I think the skin looks flawless aside from my little situation there, but we're not going to talk about that. And even so, I think it covered up pretty well considering what was there before. I think this look is gorgeous. This is extremely similar to what I wore at my wedding. If you guys like this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Again, if you want to see an all drugstore or an all high-end makeup look for weddings, go ahead and comment down below and let me know. Give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.